Hi future bureaucrats of India, welcome to LearnStroke IAS Current Affairs Test Series Discussion Crack Prelims 2023, where all the questions are sourced from newspapers and magazine. So let's solve the questions with me. Let's go to today's series first question. What is that first question? Let's go. Consider the following statements regarding inflation. The WPI is called the retail inflation rate. The wholesale price index is called the retail inflation rate. Statement number 1. Statement 2. The WPI is dominated by the prices of manufactured goods, while CPI is dominated by the prices of the food articles. When the prices of haircuts, banking transactions, services, transport and education rise, it has an adverse impact on the wholesale price inflation. That means, simply talking, when it goes high, that means the services when all this goes high, it has an adverse impact on the WPI inflation. So which of the following statements are correct? 1 and 2, 2 only, 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. So what is the answer? You have to find the answers. Let's solve the question once with me. The wholesale price index WPI is called the retail inflation rate. The statement 1 is obviously wrong. Obviously, WPI is not retail inflation rate. CPI, the consumer price index, is the retail inflation rate. WPI creates the wholesale inflation rate. So statement 1 is wrong. So when you eliminate, option A goes, option D goes, so rest is 2 and 3. WPI is dominated by price of manufactured, while the CPI is dominated by the food articles. So which do you think is the right one? The statement number 2 is absolutely right. Manufactured goods is WPI and food articles is CPI. When the price of haircuts, banking transactions, services, transport, education rise, it has an adverse impact on WPI. The statement is false, because WPI basically do not account or take into consideration the services. This is actually the CPI, the consumer price index. So services, these are services, haircuts, banking transactions, etc. So when the prices goes high, it has an adverse impact on the consumer price index and not the WPI index. So it do not create an adverse impact on WPI. So what is the answer? Let's check the answer. The answer was 2 only. And why this question was asked? Because recently retail inflation quickens to almost 8-year high at 7 point. Recently they say that the retail inflation has gone up. Telangana records the highest, Kerala records the lowest retail inflation. This was a news item. So that is why we picked this news, and for the explanation you need to know a clear idea about WPI and CPI. What is the difference? Just imagine that the price of onions normally go up. The price of the onion is at 10 rupees, which is the base price, and after some time you see that the price of the onion has increased to 15. So you can say that there is an increase from 10 to 15. So there is a 50% increase, that is from the base prices. So you can just take the price of any commodity, say onions, varies from one which you buy in the wholesale market and one which you buy in the shopping mall. So is the same difference? The price of onions that you get in the wholesale market and that you buy in the shopping mall is both different. So what happens is, comparing the price of onions with this year's retail price and last year's wholesale price will be misleading. So you cannot compare the same commodity in WPI as well as CPI. And it is even said that inflation rate is calculated for rural and urban markets, and that is why we have CPI and WPI, where different commodities are marked. So let's say the important thing, that is, who releases this? A typical UPSC question. WPI, you can say the CPI is released by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which is called as the MOSPI. You can call it as a MOSPI. So CPI is created by MOSPI, and WPI is created by DPIIT, which is Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. So DPIIT creates WPI. So this should be remembered in your mind because it can be a question. Moving on, you can see that the WPI is dominated by manufactured goods. CPI has food articles, more. You can just take a look at this slide. This is CPI. What constitutes consumer price index? You can see the food and beverages, pan, tobacco, clothing and footwear, housing, fuel, light, miscellaneous, which are services. So this is the composition of CPI. We have food, clothing, housing, fuel and light, and apart from the WPI, you can just see WPI contributes for primary articles, fuel and power, and manufactured products. So it gives manufactured product more importance. So that is why we have discussed this. You can see that CPI is dominated by the price of food articles, and imagine that WPI is dominated by manufactured articles. So when the food prices go up, it will bump up the retail inflation. So whenever the food articles prices go, it will increase the food inflation, and it would have lesser impact on the WPI. Imagine that reverse is happening. If the price of manufactured goods like TV, cars, and all the products that you use go up, it will have an impact on the wholesale price index or WPI. So food and manufactured item, that is how you should define it. And WPI does not take into account the services, as I said, transport, education, recreation, amusement, personal care. You know, if they rise, what will happen is the CPI, the retail inflation will rise, that is the consumer price index will rise, and it will have less amount of impact on the WPI. So services is not calculated by WPI. So please try to remember all these aspects. Okay, so that was a question number 1 on inflation, very important question. It's a classic question that you have to remember always. Moving on to the next important question. Here we go to the second question. Consider the following statements regarding the UN Security Council Committee. It's not. So remember, UN Security Council Committee. It was appearing in the news. 3 or 4 options here. 1. The committee comprises of all 15 members of the Security Council and makes its decision by consensus. They take the decision by consensus. Statement number 2. The current chair of the committee is Finland. Okay. Third statement. India is not a member of UN Security Council. India is not a member of the UN Security Council. 4. The committee had initially established a resolution called as 1267 resolution that appears in the news, which imposed a limited air embargo and asset freeze on Iran for nuclear violation. So what's the resolution 1267 is basically for Iran nuclear violation. Which of the following statements are right? 1, 3 and 4, 2 and 3, 1 only, 2 and 4. Which of them are right? So let's check the answers one by one. So I hope you can solve this. Statement number 1. The committee comprises all 15 members of the Security Council and makes its decision through consensus. Absolutely right. This is statement 1 is right. Statement 2. The current chair of the committee is Finland. That is wrong. Currently it is chaired by Norway. It's by the representative of Norway. So statement 2 is wrong. And if you could have eliminated statement 2, you could have eliminated 2 options, option B and D. India is not a member of UN Security Council. That was a very simple statement. India is definitely a member of the UN Security Council, but not a permanent member. That was the key. India is a member of the Security Council, but not a permanent member of Security Council, which India is still trying. And the committee created the resolution 1267 is not for Iran nuclear violation. It's a very popular one, which obviously comes in the newspaper. It is for the activities of Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and recently it has been extended. So all these, it was in the context of Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, etc. 1267 resolution. So let's check out the answer. The answer was 1 only. Rest of all the statement was absolutely wrong. And why did this news come in? China blocks Indo-US proposal to name Abdul Rahman Makki as a global terrorist. So India and America made an effort to dub Abdul Rahman Makki as a UN designated terrorist. But what happened is China did not support this resolution. So that was an international news why China did this. So China defends its move to put hold on designation of Makki as global terrorist to UN. So this also opened up the relation between China and Pakistan. What is the relation of China and Pakistan? So this is why we took this question. The UN Security Council Committee was discussed. The committee comprises of all 15 members of Security Council and they take the decision by consensus. So which are the, you can see it is Norway which is current chair of the committee and that is expiring on December 20, 2022. And the permanent resolution, you can say Security Council 1267, and there is something called as 1989, 2253, 1988, are all concerning regarding Islamic State in Iraq, the Levant, Al-Qaeda, associated individual groups, etc. So 1267 along with the 1988, 1989 and 2253 resolution are all relating to terrorism. So please remember that. And 5 permanent members: China, France, Russia, United Kingdom and US. And out of that, India is definitely a part in that. So Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana, Ireland, Kenya. So you can remember this list, and if I ask you which of them are members of, which of the following countries are members of UN Security Council, if I give you 5 countries, you should be able to eliminate it. So read this country. Norway is definitely a part of that. That is why Finland was not a part of this. So that if you knew this country, that option would have been easy for you. So that was this, and let's move to the next important question. Which among the following organization releases the Global Trends Report? The ILO, UNESCO, World Bank and UNHCR, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Again, a typical UPSC type of question where they ask about the report. So why did this? This is a current affair news, and what is the answer? Let's check the answer. The answer is D, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. So UNHCR was the news. Why did this appear? Global displacement is being discussed in the news. Global displacements hits 89.3 million in 2021. And now records say that by 2022, more than 100 million people are supposed to be displaced due to war, ethnic crisis, humanitarian crisis, etc. people. And the recent Ukraine war also displaced a lot of people. So by 2022 at the end, more than 100 million people will be displaced across the world due to many reasons. You can just see the UNHCR presents key statistical trends worldwide. So by May of 2022, more than 100 million people will be forcibly displaced by why? Persecution, conflict, violence, human rights violation, disorder, anything. So that's a very alarming thing about the global displacement. So that was UNHCR, the Global Trend Report. Let's move on to the next important question. Here we go. Consider the following statements regarding Poshan Abhiyan. Again, this appeared in the newspaper because of the Prime Minister. The Poshan Abhiyan is a multi-ministerial convergence mission with the vision to ensure the attainment of malnutrition-free India. Malnutrition-free India by 2022. 1. The Ministry of Women and Child Development, the MWCD, is the implementing agency of Poshan Abhiyan. Which of the following statements are right? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 or 2. Which of them are right in this regard? So let's see the answers. Which of them are incorrect? So the option was, which of the following statement was incorrect? 1 or 2? What is your answer? Let's check the answer. Neither of the statements are incorrect because both the statements are absolutely right. Statement 1 is right. And why I asked this question? Prime Minister to launch schemes for maternal nutrition in Gujarat. And you can say Poshan Abhiyan has a vision by malnutrition-free India by 2022. And why is this created? It was created in 2018 in the Jhunjhunu district of Rajasthan. It basically lays emphasis on nutrition status of adolescent girls, pregnant women, lactating mothers and children in the age group of 0 to 6 years. So what are the objective? Reduce stunting in children, reduce undernutrition, reduce the prevalence of anemia, reduce the prevalence of anemia among women, adolescent girls in the age category of 15 to 49, especially the women, and reduce LBW. What is LBW? Low birth weight. So it's all revolving around the malnutrition concept. So read more on the Poshan Abhiyan. So this is current affair. So moving on to the last question of Crack Prelims 2023. Recently the news appeared, Major Economics Forum on Energy and Climate called MEF. Consider the following statements regarding Major Economics Forum on Energy and Climate, which is MEF. 3 statements. The forum, launched in 2009 by United States of America, is created to facilitate candid dialogue among major developed economies. So it's a discussion between the major developed countries. Statement number 2. Developing countries are not included in the dialogue process and cannot participate in this initiative. 2. 3. Global Methane Pledge Energy Pathway is an important agenda of the MEF. What is the answer? 1 and 2, 3 only, 2 only, 1, 2 and 3. Which of the following is the answer? Forum, question number 1. Statement number 1. The forum launched in 2009, correct, by United States of America, right? It's created to facilitate candid dialogue among major developed countries. Statement is false because it is not only for developed countries, it is also for developed and developing countries. Obviously, statement number 2 is wrong. It says that both the statement is wrong. Global methane pledge energy pathway is important agenda of MEF. Absolutely right. Third statement is right. If you knew that the second statement was wrong, you could have eliminated A, C and D because all of them contains 2. Answer was obviously 3 only. Obviously 3 only. So let's see why this question was asked, and the answer is 3 only. Why was this question asked? Because in Hindu they talked about the article Joe Biden hosts climate summit overshadowed by fuel costs. Joe Biden will host major economies forum on energy and climate leaders meeting. And why was this conducted? It was created by during the time of Barack Obama, and they say that 17 major economies participate in this. Is India part of this? India is a part of this. Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, European Union, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, the list goes on. And one important thing, MEF account for roughly 80% of global GDP and greenhouse gas emissions. So they include the countries or economies which contributes almost 80% of global GDP and greenhouse emissions. And this organization was, association was very important to create an agenda during the Glasgow conference, the COP26. It's also important regarding the main initiative of keeping 1.5 degrees Celsius limit on warming. So this organization has a lot of important things that they have done, and one of them is Global Methane Pledge Energy Pathway and Collective 2030 Zero Emissions Vehicle Goal, Green Shipping Challenge, Clean Energy Technology Challenge, efforts to enhance food security. So these are some of the general vision which they talk about, the energy and climate leaders, the major economy forum on energy and climate, MEF. So these are some of the important things. So read more about this. And read about the global methane projects and some of the agendas and objectives of the organization. So we have come to the end of today's discussion. I hope you like the questions. Read more, read the explanation more. You can download the question paper in the link below and practice yourself. And do like, share and subscribe our channel LearnStroke IAS and the exclusive channel Learn IAS Current Affairs. Share it with your friends who are preparing for civil services. Let's crack it together.